Hi, I'm Kwame. You're probably thinking living in North Carolina looks something like this. Or like this.
They think I'm crazy, but they can't help but like me.
They do it on our show.
Or like this. But actually some of your favorite YouTubers live here, like Mr. Beast or Link from Good Mythical Morning. And your favorite YouTuber. Me. With interest rates rising, cost of living, and access to information and income, it seems like it's impossible to live just about anywhere in the world. It seems like it's expensive to live just about anywhere in the world. So in today's video, I'm going to tell you how much it costs to live in North Carolina. I'm also going to go into my income breakdown, and I'm also going to tell you guys how much I make a month and how much I'm able to save a month, and also some of the budgeting tactics that I've started to learn over these few years. And I'm also going to compare how expensive it is to live in North Carolina as compared to other major states in the US. And if you're one of those knuckleheads who cannot stop spending money, please stay tuned, and hopefully by the end of this video, I can actually inspire you to start creating a budget. And I'm going to show you how important it is to take control of your finances. If it's daily, weekly, or even on a monthly level, I think it's very important to at least start with a budget. So first, let's go into my gross income, and then after that, we'll talk about my monthly expense. So I can only talk about how much money I made last year, which was around $177,000. I plan on making around $185,000 this year, but working as a data analyst in tech, there are ways that you can constantly increase your income year over year. But let's break this down based on last year's actual. $177,000 broken down by month is around $14,500 a month. So what makes up that is an accumulation of all cash, meaning cash bonus and my actual base salary. So we're not going to go into vested and unvested stock, and we're not going to take my investments into consideration or any other real estate investments that I have. After taxes, my take home is around $123,000 a year, and my monthly take home is $10,326 a month, which means my total effective tax rate is close to 30%. Now let's go into expenses, because this is definitely a doozy. So I'm going to take my most expensive month into consideration, because I think if we did some sort of average on my most expensive and lowest, it may come out to not be so accurate. So I want to give you guys the best depiction of how much I'm actually spending, or what's the worst my spending can actually get. So that you have an overestimate of what you should be looking at when you're creating your budget. And I also think when you're creating your budget, especially when you look back on the year, it's important to go with some of those most expensive months, because it's always best to overestimate and over forecast what you might spend, as opposed to underestimating and going over your budget. Also, I'm excluding any unnecessary expenses such as vacations or gifts. I'm only going to be taking into consideration the expenses that I would have on a daily basis. So for example, my car payment, or a mortgage, or an HOA, or electricity, or a phone bill, or something of that nature. Only expected expenses will be included in my monthly expenses. So to get my expenses, I go to my bank's website and I export all of my debits and credits. I know a lot of banks only allow you to export a certain amount of history at one time. And so I usually just take the max amount of the most recent payment history, and then I'll go from there. Once you've pulled that data, it's easy to just dump that into an Excel and start doing your calculations from there. So I'm not going to go too deep into every single last one of my expenses, but some important things that I want to call out. I labeled each one of my expenses with a percentage of my total expenses. Now I actually calculate how much gross I'm pulling in, and then we calculate how much we're netting. And I have that broken down by year and also month. Looking at my expenses every month, I realize it's always the necessities that hold the most weight in your expenses. The roof over your head being the most costly expense. Rent or mortgage is always going to be one of your most expensive expenses. If you can reduce that, you will get back a substantial amount of your income. For me, I enjoy food, and so I allow that to take up a lot of my expenses. Granted, I should probably stop eating because I'm getting chubby. Now let's compare this to other states. According to Sophie and Income Zip Code, here is the average income for California, New York, and Texas compared to North Carolina. And here are the average household expenses for each one of those states as well. I just wanted to call out, it'll be very expensive to move from North Carolina to California or New York. So it's really difficult to determine the expenses. And so I decided to apply a multiplier to the average expenses for each one of these states, just so I can get somewhat of an actual depiction of what my expenses would be if I decided to move to some of these states. And here's a breakdown of each one of those states. California obviously being the most expensive, and North Carolina, where I live now, being the least expensive. With my income in mind, you can see if I wanted to move to either one of these states, I would at least have to make 10% more if I wanted to maintain the same lifestyle that I have now living in North Carolina. To continue to save 50%, I'd either have to increase my income or I would have to get a source of passive income. So again, let's take me as a use case. Holding all things constant, saving 53% of my income a year, I would be saving roughly $65,000. If we divide that by 1 million, it would take more than 15 years for me to save up $1 million. And I just want to be clear, this is all things constant, meaning no extra expenses. This is no vacations. This is me eating the same amount of food. And to me, that's not living with a generational wealth mindset. You must keep increasing your income, or you must find other means of income. Invest either in property or yourself to live the life that you want to live. I hope this transparency helped you. I'm not trying to brag or be boastful about the amount of money that I make. This was such a vulnerable thing to show, but I truly care about you guys, and I hope that I can start helping you build wealth one day. And a lot of that changes with mindset. Start creating a budget, start finding ways that you can get more income, start finding ways to either increase your salary or create passive income so that you can continue to enhance or create the lifestyle that you actually want to live. You can travel wherever you want to go, you can be whoever you want to be. You just have to find the means to get there. Thank you again for watching this video. Please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.